First off, thank you, Berlin, for initiating this project, and thank you to all the staff and students for having me here. First off, I want to just play a quick video here.
This is where you're wrong with cancers. We're not the most powerful in the game. We're the most evil, alone, quiet, yes, that is. Maybe God will forgive you, but you know this life, right? I don't think all of them.
That's the trailer for my second album, DAAKU, The Gangster's Life, which is a sequel to the first one, DAAKU. Let me just say right now that you are all so lucky to be the age you are. All I see in this room is greatness. Remember these words, that the world is yours. As I make this presentation, please take the positive, and I'm going to bring up a lot of negative aspects of that lifestyle to you. But take the positive that I have and lead your life with that. When this clears up, there's some social piece here. So anybody that, I know if I speak from your concept that you should keep your phones off. Keep them on silent, and I'm absolutely okay with you guys all taking pictures during the course of this presentation. And if anybody tweets any pictures later this afternoon or whatever, they will be retweeted later by my staff as well. My name is Ranj Dhaliwal, and I was born in Vancouver, but I was raised in Surrey. Surrey, British Columbia. I went to elementary school there, I went to high school there. And as we were growing up, I was subjected to a lot of racism. It's funny when we talk nowadays. I get a lot of Indo-Canadian kids saying, in the old school, gangsters, they stuck up with us. That's not true. I know what racism is. Our house was attacked multiple times. We were the only East Indian family living in our neighborhood. And I was one of the rare East Indian students that went to our elementary school. And, I faced bullying and racism firsthand. And I think that with that came writing. Daily, what we had to do was write journals. And this is elementary school. I always enjoyed writing my journal. And it wasn't always about, what did you do last night, or what are you going to do this week, or how was your weekend. It was very much like, come up with your own stories. And I think that creative writing that I learned from, grade 3, 4, 5 really helped my career as a writer now. My first story I ever wrote was I was in grade 6. There was a fire at our school, and I did one of those. I don't know if you guys know what a pop-up book is. It's like you open it up and like a house pops up and everything. I did one of those, and I got an A on it because it was kind of unique. But I learned then that I realized, I guess, then that I really enjoyed writing, and I like telling stories because that was a fictional story as well. I just made up what happened at that time. And going through the years, grade 7, 8, 9, when I was about 12, 13 years old, the kids I was growing up with in Surrey, believe it or not, were doing small break-and-enter crimes like that. And these kids, they would do B&Es, break-and-enters, and they would steal guns. That was the big thing. Get some guns, or some iron, stay with them. And those guns were being sold to the other gangsters. But let me tell you something. The majority of those kids I grew up with, they're either drug addicts, or we would call it in the revolving program, which is they're revolving in and out of jail now, doing petty crimes just to stay afloat while they're on social assistance. So these are the same kids I grew up with. You know, they thought they were making a few $100 here and there, but once they got that criminal record, there was no way out of that. Lucky for me, I got in with a group of kids that they were the ones buying the guns, I guess you could say, the old school gangsters. But that was right when I got into junior high. And in grade 9, this is back to my writing here, as all this is unfolding before my eyes. In grade 9, our class was asked to write a short story. And I started writing a whodunit. I don't know what a whodunit is, it's a murder mystery. And I had Inspector Callahan in there, and I had the whole cast of characters. My problem was, I couldn't stop. The deadline came, my teacher, my English teacher, was just like, you know, are you done your story? Because you didn't hand it in. I'm like, I can't hand it, she's ended now. I'm like, well, it's like 2-3 pages beyond what it's supposed to be. And she's like, just end it now. So, I entered it right there. I got a B on that. Funny thing is, my younger brother, look at your eyes, a few years later, and we got me on the exact same story. So I realized I could probably tell the story. And then, on the writing aspect, I didn't really write much more. I started reading. And they say that if you look at stories like Peter Pan, children love them. Why do they love them? Now we just sit here and watch movies. But the movie, the characters, one thing I don't, people are like, you should make a DAAKU into a movie. Once they get the right cast of characters, they'll be. But the problem with that is that there's an image. There's a face now. But when you're reading the books, you create everything in your own imagination. You're living that story without having somebody else do work for you. There's producers, there's directors, there's actors, there's somebody that has a story. I'll tell you something. Storytellers, guys that write books like me, we don't imagine the characters like you imagine them. And then when it's on the big screen, we're like, wow, I had no idea that that guy was going to play that role, because that's not what I imagined. And then things get changed around. And in movies and film, TV, you know, the things that we're sitting in front of, and we're going to the theaters to watch, those are somebody else's imagination. It's not your imagination. It's not your story. It's not, because me as a writer, when I write books like DAAKU, and the covers there for DAAKU is the Gangster, like my second one. I'm writing a third right now, and you know, a fourth as well, and I'm writing other stories as well. I love writing. It's an amazing thing. But what I started doing was I started putting my head into books. I just started reading. And for me, I like documentaries. I like to know, like, even when I watch a movie, I'm just like, was it a true story or not? Because if it was, I'll watch it. If it's not, then I don't want to waste my time. Not saying that, you know, fiction is a bad thing, because I write fiction, and I want you all to read it. But let's get back to me running. So, while I'm reading and trying to be this little intellect, I wasn't a geek by any means. You know, I've done my fair share of, you know, fights here and there. And I started reading, which you guys are probably old school guys from here in Vancouver, and some of the bigger names that have now passed away. And when I did meet these guys, you know, I got mixed up with them. I was one of the first, I guess, Indo-Canadians, I was myself, who was some of the first Indo-Canadian on the gang squad list in Surrey. Anywhere I drove, any billiards I went into, the Surrey gang squad was there, and they'd be like, Ranj, come here, we want to talk to you. Ranj, come here, we want to talk to you. I was over 15, 16 at the time. And the people I met back then, I see on the front page newspapers now. Either they're going to jail, or they're dead. So, the reason these guys are dying is because of this lucrative drug trade out there. You know, I can sit here and tell you it's a bad thing, bad thing, bad thing. It's a short-lived excitement. It doesn't last very long. Might as well just use the drugs yourself. But that's one of the rules these gangsters have. They don't use it. And they look down on those that do use it. They call them hoops. They call them crackheads. They call them losers. And you know what the sad thing is? A lot of these guys started using their own product, so they became the hoops, the crackheads. And this is a message, you know, I need to get out there, because People don't see that. We watch the music videos. We see that, these guys have big high-level parties. I'm not over here now. I went to a few penthouse parties in my day. They were all big flashes, big Mr. Celebrity when I was younger. But then I think about it now, and I'm just like, oh, those are nothing compared to the music videos. It's just $1 million video. Then you're going to go to a party like that right there. And, getting a nice big set of rims, 26 inches, 24 inch rims. Back in my day, we didn't have them. 16 was the big one. Then it came to 18s. But the reason I didn't get full-fledged into that world, I guess you could say, was because my closest friends, there was this, in the 90s, a gang war erupted. That was my time. These were my friends. One day they were buddies, just like I write it down. One day everybody's buddies. And everybody's moving forward, doing one thing. Let's go to dances together. At that time we were big on dances and stuff. And we go to dances, not clubs or anything. And we go out together to social programs. We were all friends. And you get it just like brothers, you get a fight here and there. But then, when all of a sudden, this gang war erupted, it was because people got greedy. And there was, as I saw, there was no loyalty left. There was no loyalty to, hey, you got my back when you're in a fight. It was none of that. What happened was, the greed took over, different alliances formed. The next thing you know, guys are getting shot and killed. The same guys that were one of my best friends, buddies, hanging out together, from high school. You think, yeah, bro, we're down, we're going to be together till the end. No, they're going to be your end. Because the majority of gangland hits, as I write in my books, are conducted by your best friend. There is no loyalty. I saw this firsthand. I was at grandma's house. He used to have some chest surgery, he loved steroids. And anyway, I was over at his house and I got hey bro, hell man. I'm like 22, 21 or something. I'm like, yo bro, what's going on? You know what's me going on? What's me? Bro, I had no idea what's going on. Because I thought maybe you were going to come and do you as I opened the door. And then anyway, walked into his bedroom for a second, and he was like, did you grab this box or whatever? And I looked on the gun, next to there's a gun there too. There's a shotgun laying on the floor, and I was just like, really? Are you ready for a reward? Do you think somebody's going to come into his parents' house? He wasn't living alone. Yeah, he had his own place as well, but he lived in his parents' house. He thought it's a safe place. Nobody's going to come to my mom's house. 2 weeks later, he was on the front page of the newspaper, dead. Shot in the park. Good for him. And then the rumors started coming out. Who did what? When did it happen? And if those rumors were true, we're just like, wow, those are your buddies. Your own buddies said that. And if you look, I don't know if you guys are anything like me, but anytime I see a story, I like to theorize it on the fiction right away. I like to theorize on what's going on. But take a look at how people get killed sometimes. Side alleyway somewhere, who are they going to meet? Somebody they knew, obviously. The only way a gangster gets out of his house without bodyguards is if he knows somebody that he trusts. And those, my friends, are the ones that are dying from the most loyal guys. But anyway, I started seeing that, and I'm now in my early 20s. I was just like, wow, this is pretty bad over here. In my early 20s, I had about a dozen of my close friends murdered. Some on one side, some on the other. These guys all used to hang out at one point in time. They were bros. They were like, we're going to die together, we're going to come together, we're going to do this together. They're dead. And some of them, one of the things, the most horrifying things you hear about, this doesn't get played out in the media though. All we hear about is bullets that have 2 bullets to the face, verbal bullets, so on and so forth. There are so many accounts of days on end of torture. Everybody thought about that. People get tortured. Extortion is a huge racket in the underworld. And if you're not the top dog of the big group, you're the one that's at the bottom getting extorted. me up. Saying, yeah, right, man, he wants to go to school, he wants to stay in school. And, he had his life planned out. He goes, I don't want to go to school, I just want to grow up. And I can get up, I can go buy myself a house, and go, later on live legit. And I was just like, I read the news. The guys doing the grow ups are the ones getting ripped off. They're the ones getting tortured, they're getting ripped off. And a lot of times what these guys are doing is they get contracted to do a road by some organized crime group. And you know what happens? There's a really good setup that this doesn't come on media. Or 2 years hire something to do a grow. That person's doing the grow. It's your money on the line. You're getting $300,000 in. You tell them you're getting $25,000. What they do is they set up their own grow up. So the very next time period is now going to set his dad for a rip. Somebody's going to come in and rip the place off. Guess who's going to hook for all that drugs? The guy who grew up. The newbie. Now, there's no way out. He's figured that out. He's stuck in this cycle where he doesn't make a dime because interest levels are high. They call it taxing in the underworld. And interest levels are so high on any type of loan that it's almost impossible to pay a loan off. But anyway, now I'm about 24 years oldish, and I got a new set of friends, bikers, and good guys though. But one day, this is back when we just got internet, because we didn't have internet back then. So I got on the computer, I was a pick taker, and I was looking for, I don't know if you've ever seen a floppy disk, because I remember that story that I did read on who done it. I had that on a floppy disk somewhere. I'm looking around for it, and I'm just like, how do you convert this so I can stick it in this drive now? And I couldn't find it, because I wanted to continue. That's what, I want to write it. I don't know why, I just wanted to write it, because that's all I did with reading and writing when I was younger. And so anyway, that didn't happen. And the first words in this book here, it's forward actually, not this. Put there, dog scream my mom. Those are the first words I picked typed. Nothing's been changed on that. Trust me, you go to an editing process, some things will change for grammar and grammar. That was the first thing I wrote. I wrote for a couple pages here and there. Pick typing. Very, very, very slow. Very slow. I didn't know how to type at the time. But as I was writing, and as I was living my life, now building Harvey Davidson and so on, I thought, what am I going to do with my life? And I started looking into what did I like? Because I was, I guess, embroiled in that lifestyle when I was younger. I went through the court system. I really liked the legal aspects of it. So then I took some courses and I was like, oh, let's see if I can do anything legally. And I started taking some courses as a paralegal. One of the greatest things that came out of that course, I'll tell you, was a women's type. I think it's like 60, 70 words in a year to legal hospital. But as I was going through that program, I started writing some more in DAAKU. And DAAKU was a great avenue for me to get away from this world, because when I write, I play like, I'm shooting myself with video games. It's like this video game that's playing in my head. I get to choose which way this character's going. So if I'm pissed off that day, if I'm not in a good mood, that reflects in my novel. And I'll admit it to you, I've shed some tears when I've had people come to me and they're like, oh my god, I cried on this one. It's usually females that admit that. And I'm like, hey, I did too, don't worry about it. Because when I sit there and I'm living this life in this book, that I'm conjuring up these stories that are going through my head, I'm making this kid go this way, this way. I feel those emotions. When I'm in a really good mood, this is funny stuff that happens. I remember while I was running with my brother one day, we had each other. I'm like, hey, so pick this up, opening up anywhere in the street. He opened up to a point where it's like that, but he gets to a point where the next one comes to. We've been there, we're getting his house, and I put this in the bus and I got laughing. I go, well, just half page, don't read any more than that. And he's just like, this is hilarious, what is this? I go, I'm writing a book. And he's just like, really? Why? I'm like, I don't know. So then, I'm halfway through my book now, and I'm seeing media headlines, another gangster killed, all while I'm writing, and I'm just like, wow, more people I knew are dying. More people I knew are going to jail. Even to this day, I see names of people that are getting convicted, that are dying, and they're people I knew. But anyhow, so I'm halfway through my book. I didn't know it was halfway through my book at the time. I didn't even know when it was going to end. I didn't know what the ending was going to be like, because I just start, and I just keep going until I was like, wow, this is going to happen. And then I see the ending come in, and I just fall right to that. But anyhow, so when I'm halfway through my book, I decided to send it out to some publishers. I Googled it. I think it was Google. Yeah, anyway. I Googled it, and I was just like, you know, how do I get it published? So I sent it out. It was a catch-22, as I realized. But luckily, the publishers that I sent it to, one of them was local here, a very large publisher, they did the Harry Potter books. They, the publisher called me and said, wow, I love this. He goes, when can you be done? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be. He's just like, when do you think you can be done? I'm going to give you 6 months. He's like, okay. Every week we spoke. Ranj, he's calling me at work. He's calling me all the time. Ranj, how's the book coming? I want to get it out. How's the book coming? I want to get it out. Anyway, about 6 months later, me writing a couple hours a day, I finished DAAKU. He reads it. Wow, amazing. But, Ranj, gotta tone it down a bit. There's a lot of language in this book. And I was just like, well, the day you tell the gangsters out there to tone it down is the day I'm going to tone down my books. Then I kind of got into it. And I was just like, it was publishers month, I wanted to do it, do my book. And I realized, I was just like, wow, this big publisher wanted to do it. Maybe I should just self-publish, make some more money. And then I was just like, okay, let's see what, and, you know, what else is out there. And then the week before I decided, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do this on my own and see where it goes. I just want to get the story out there now. I get a call from a local publisher, one national publisher, and he goes, please, don't give it to any other publisher, don't do anything with it, just meet me. I was like, okay, fine. He was in for brunch the next day. I was like, fine. So we met down in Vancouver. First thing he said to me, he's like, introduce himself, introduce the guy who's going to edit, the editing manager and everything, but they're all sitting at the brunch. He goes, as he's standing still, he goes, you're my gold. I was just like, well, that's the worst thing to say when you start contract costs. And anyway, I went with this publisher, and you know, this was the outcome. First signature. By the way, that's me. Yeah. But anyway, while this book is in the editing stages, I know the ending. Everybody's like, oh my god, the ending. I'm not going to remember those that haven't, I don't think you usually remember. But there's a good ending to DAAKU. I already saw what happens after that before it was published. So during the editing process, I thought, I got some ideas. So what I did was, I always wrote those ideas down. Anywhere I could. I'm sitting and having coffee somewhere, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, jotting down notes. Every idea I got, I wrote it down. And then afterwards you see me with napkins and pieces of paper, and then I'll put them all out, lay them out, put them in my computer, and then that's how the second one's far out. The middle one here, the image, because like, what is that image? That's DAAKU on iBooks, so it's a different image altogether. Than the first one. It's exactly the same as the first one. It's the same story. It's just a different color. Yeah, when I write, I think about what message can I send to all of you out there? Because when I was writing DAAKU, for a split second, after I got the publisher, as I was reading back, I thought, wow, this book could go two ways. This book could become a textbook on how to become a gangster. Or two, I could get out and I could talk about it. And I could talk about the negative aspects. And you know what, the smart kids out there, they already see those. They're like, man, when Ruby did this, I saw it coming. Ruby himself screws over his own friends, just like they do out there in the real world. But this is one of those things where, you know, I'm hoping that the kids, there's a reason, like, I feel like it's just shadows, believe it or not, I don't want to put images of Ruby and his buddies on the front. I was like, don't do that. I want the youths and the imaginations to run wild, make their own images. Because I don't think, you know, genetic descriptions is so discovered something. It's up to you, as a reader, to come up with the rest. Like I say, back to, you know, I like to use Peter Pan as an example. Because you can go to, like, the whole the gist of that story is go to a far off land. And that's something in your imagination, it's in your mind, while you're reading, while you're imagining. And that's exactly what I want to put out there. But I want you to live my emotions as well. So as you can see, the decisions I made in my life are the same that I'm asking everybody else out there that reads my novels to do as well. I want you to look at it, stop, think for a second, where is this going to lead me to? And if anybody thinks, yeah, I'm going to be the big bad gangster, I'm going to be the guy, there's already another couple thousand thinking the same thing, so it's not happening. And right now, the organized crime that is out there, we call it organized now because they're a lot smarter. Smarter than cops a lot of times. Cops know exactly what's going on, they just get evidence to prosecute these guys. But the difference is the guys that are on top, they're already on top. They're not going to give up their spot for anybody. So many newcomers that come in, they really don't have much of a chance. And let me just tell you something. I grew up with this kid. I interviewed him actually. I was up on my website when I was doing this calling for a while. On my website. But he actually, at the age of 14 years old, he started going in and out of juvenile detention center. We went to school together. In and out of juvenile detention center. And then when he became an adult, he started doing provincial time. There's a difference between provincial time and federal time. Provincial time and adult is 2 years less than 8, and federal is 2 years plus. Anyway, this guy went through provincial, you know, he used to scrap it out, he could hold his own. And then when I was interviewing him, we sat down in his place, he's out now. He's trying to live life. It's difficult, as he says, he's got a couple kids. And he's a single father. But he told me this story. He goes, Ranj. He goes, when I was like, what's federal? What do you talk about federal? We just grew up in the United States. You know, it was love. That's all we heard. But I asked him, I was federal. He goes, let me tell you something. He goes, I was in our provincial, yeah, where it's really federal. Occasionally. And it was my age. And he goes, on his bus ride to federal prison here in BC, he started asking around, because you're curious. You're shackled, legs, hands. And he's just asking the guy, the rest of the people inside his bus, how was it like? Anybody been there? They're like, oh yeah, that's not it. They're like, there's lockdowns almost every day or every second day. I was like, why? He's like, somebody gets shanked. Shanked means getting stabbed. And then I'm just like, okay, and he's like, okay, now I'm getting kind of jitters, like, oh my god, this is just like a regular prison. He gets in there, he gets checked in there. Told me a story, he was sitting in a unit. Unit is the place you're living in custody. And, you know, he saw 3 figures walking into a jail cell. An inmate was inside the cell. 3 figures walking in there. He goes, you could hear their deathly screams. He goes, I'm like, well, okay, what does he say? Why would you scream? He's just like, no, a beating in a jail in your cell is 3 guys walk in, 2 guys come in with some sort of pipe, and 1 comes in with a shank. It's like a knife, it's a makeshift knife that they make in jail out of anything or anything. And the person gets beat down and stabbed repeatedly at the same time. Oh, and what the guards did? The guards apparently do not jump in immediately because it's a threat to their safety. So they think it's safe enough and unsafe for the budget as a backup, they can come in. Imagine that world is an absolute downward spiral. If you read the book, there's many instances in here where I write about Ruby. He's wondering what else he could have done in life, where he could have went. Instead of being a gangster, or not becoming a gangster, he wonders to himself, what if I did pursue an education? Would I be going through this right now? He goes to jail. Let me give you a story now. Ruby grows up in Surrey, and he becomes a tough guy. And then he goes to jail, in and out of youth detention centers. He meets the tough guys, meets the gangsters, and then he pursues to become a gangster. For anybody that doesn't know what DAAKU means, DAAKU in Punjabi is another term for outlaw, as in a gangster. The only time you see DAAKU in the entire book is the foreword, the afterword, and the cover. The book's not in Punjabi, it has nothing to do with DAAKU, or I came up with that kind of after the fact. Like, I wanted to leave something Punjabi in this book, because it is an Indo-Canadian kid. And in this novel here, he goes to parties. But when you look at the party, what happens at these things? There's kids doing, they're doing drugs. There's the trophy girls. There's, I've had many discussions with at-risk youth and some female at-risk youth as well. And they're just like, yeah, pretty much they're looking for a guy that's got some cash. That's going to get him with the blame. And I'm just like, well, how many girls does he have? Oh, it's just going to be me. Really? You're that special? That it's just going to be you? No. I think this is something I do. I don't say how it is. I don't like to buffer anything. I don't like to, make it add a little sugar on there. And I've had people being like, man, you're an a-hole the way you talk to people sometimes. I'm like, it's reality. And this is a struggle that you as youth, we as adults, we're all going through this together. I look around, like I said, the world is yours. You can do whatever you want with it. The doctor, like I say here in the afterword here, I really don't read out loud very much, but the life of the doctors is just short and exciting. More often than not, he's not able to watch his children grow up and start families on their own. The doctor served himself and doesn't in the end care about what we can after his family. You have no idea how many parents I've seen, mothers I've seen, that have approached me saying, Ranj, I had no idea my son was in that life, crying, wishing they would have sold their houses, quit their jobs, and taken their kids to another country. That we could have lived in India, we could have went anywhere. Hindsight's 2020. That's the problem. This is more of a parenting talk. I really talk to parents as well. But I think you need to understand that. I still, to this day, I apologize to my mom for what I put her through. I'm like, man, I was a bratty kid. I was a bad kid. She used to, when I did get in trouble with a lot, and I was incarcerated in juvenile detention center, she came every day to see me. I thought it was a nuisance. I look back now, and I'm so glad she did. Because she had a massive influence on my decisions to be a legitimate person, to be a good citizen for this country. But the thing is, you don't think about that when you're young. That's why I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, you guys are a really good age right now. A great age. Don't think about the stresses of 3, 4, 5 years. Education, trust me, it is a big thing. Yeah, you don't have to go to university. Yeah, you guys probably already know where you're going in life. But there's a lot of trade schools out there. There's a lot of different things that you can pursue. And it's not all, hey, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. Trust me, I grew up in that family. That was well educated. It's like, you're going to become a doctor or a lawyer. I'm like, why? lot of trades out there as well that are big money making trades. I know electricians that make close to 100,000 a year, longshoremen that make over 100,000 a year, nurses that make over 90,000 a year. There's a lot of different things that can be done out there. There's some shirts being passed around I can see right now. These are Ranj shirts, the DAAKU series. They're on our website as well. But it's one of these things where you just kind of hand them around and you keep it down. We are going to have a question and answer period at the end of this. And, you know, I really look forward to please make sure you have some good questions ready. Like I was telling your vice principal. Oh, I see somebody wants to share. Like I was telling your vice principal. I'm just hold on to it. The decisions we make in a partner so you can actually get a job. You know the catches in a lot of applications, they say, well, you're not allowed to ask you. They ask you. Have you been convicted of an offense that you haven't been pardoned for? And some, if yes, you have been pardoned, what was the offense? So, it doesn't matter what you do, you get to fight, that's an assault charge. It's going to be difficult to work in any line of government type work. Government's the good, cushy jobs that you're getting good wages, and there's tons of them out there. So many. But at this point in your life, this is where you can make that decision on where you're going to head, what you're going to do. And another big thing I noticed, I know in my life, I love to read. I absolutely love it, but I really read fiction, I write fiction. But I love to read other stories, other people, history, documentaries. I've read a lot of books on organized crime. I have read books on kings, queens, presidents. Why? It's so intriguing to be able to enter their world, to know what they went through while living my own life. And I think that if I wasn't reading as much as I have in my life, I wouldn't know how to write a book. People are like, oh, Ranj, what did you do? None. Ranj, how'd you learn how to write a book? I just started. Really. Now, I did this test where I studied university of English, which is great to know after the fact. You know, my publisher once, he did an interview and he was just like, you know, I don't think Ranj is going to win any literary awards or anything. I called him out furiously. He called me a storyteller. I was like, what are you doing? Aren't we on the same side here? He goes, Ranj, calm down. Do you have any idea how many literary writers there are over there? I'm like, lots. He goes, yeah. He goes, guess how many storytellers are over there? I'm like, I don't know. Lots? He goes, no. But a few. He goes, you're a storyteller. I was like, oh, okay. So you don't just want me to feel good now, but like tell stories. And then I was reviewed by Literary Review Canada. That's the top literary review. Of course I picked it up, I read it, and I called my publisher. Hey, does this mean I'm a literary writer now? Yeah. That kind of steers you into the literary world now. I'm like, oh, that's great. I've actually done a review of LRC now, last review. I did it last year. But these, as you see, the path I took in life, because I love words. And me, just like math. You know, kids say, I hate math. You can math, it's fun. I hate math, I don't hate math. I'm like, okay, so what are you going to do? I'm like, oh, I'm doing my thing, this and that. And these kids are one and another. I'm like, well, you still need to calculate percentages. You still need to add, subtract, multiply. You still need to do your division. You still need to know how much you can buff your product. You need your math. And you guys are well beyond that point anyway. But a big thing I see a shortfall is reading. And yeah, I'm a writer and I want you to read. But trust me, pick up a book. I remember when I published the first book, I was sitting there with a couple friends. It was late night. And I was like, I wonder if somebody right at this moment, is curled up on their couch, on their bed, sitting in a coffee shop, reading my book. Literally, they're not on my fault. Thousands of my copies of the novel have been sold, and I know people are reading them right now. So, what are the chances? Even my imagination goes wild a bit, wondering where somebody's reading. I was on the ferry going to the island. And my sister was on the island. And I saw this girl. She had a copy of my book. I actually thought, should I go and be like, hey, you want an autograph? I didn't. Try to say humble, like somewhere I can say, I don't have much humiliating me. But, just seeing that. A friend of mine told me she was taking a bus one day. Hey, she's got cash. She was on transit. She was Ranch. There's this guy sitting there reading your book, and I'm like, I read that book. And of course, she tells me, by the way, I know the author reads the tree. But anyway, for me, that's just amazing. And when I hear this many copies of my book have been sold this month, I'm wondering, how did it go for them? And the reviews I get back from the students, anybody that has read that book now, my book is in a couple colleges. Common College has it in their curriculum as well. And I think it's amazing to know that every year somebody's reading something that I wrote. So when kids tell me, they're like, hey, I'll make a front page of the newspaper, that's how I'm going to go, I'm going to blaze glory. I'm like, yeah, I make a front page of the newspaper, but I didn't go that route. I make it because it is something positive. I'm sure some of you are hearing me on the news. Why? Because I knew those guys. I know what's going on in that lifestyle. And it's not all about promoting the books, it's about getting the message out there. My wife goes to me, we're married for 5 years now. We just had a child, baby brother, a couple of years ago, this is 32 now. She goes to me, she goes, maybe you should kind of, back off on your social advocacy. Talking about gangs all the time. I was like, why? She goes, you have a son. What if something happens to you? People also say that to me. They're just like, Ranch, aren't you afraid? It's like one of your guys' questions. When I go out in public to speak about my anti-gang advocacy work I do. I say no. Do you know why? Because the citizens of this country, all of you, people are behind me. I said, if something happens to me, 5 more will step in my place. That's worse. It's better than one guy rambling than the 5 or 10 or 15. My wife, she's just like, what about, your son? I go, he's going to be like, Daddy stood up for something. And trust me, that's a bigger feeling than it is to be holding a gun. I'm a gun enthusiast. It's better than holding a gun and acting like you're all tough. In my day, it was one-on-one fights. Nowadays, you hear it's 10-on-1. And that's sad. But it's back to that. But anyway, back to my son. They're just like, others I said to them, like, you are a father now. Maybe you should kind of chill out a bit. What if, just an example of my own personal family here, what if my son goes, my dad did this, and my son becomes Prime Minister of Canada. Big hopes, God with others. But the thing is I want to set a legacy. Everybody does. And the one thing that we all hear, that downfall, like the DAAKU, there's a downfall at the end. Read the news reports. What did these gangsters say? What did their families and friends say? They were trying to get out of that life. They didn't want to be in that life anymore. There's 3 ways to get out of that life. You either shot, you end up in jail, or you become a rat, an informant. And in the other world, let's talk about the informants. There's a saying, rats, a dying breed. That means once you become an informant, chances are you're going to die from it. And there's another saying in that lifestyle, for those that are talking about loyalty with their brethren, he's my bro, this is my crew, this is my family. 2 can keep a secret if one's dead. And that's usually what we see. And this, I hope you take with you when I'm done here and you guys don't see me again. Just take with you that there is some loyalty. There's your own family. That is loyalty. And the greatest influence in my life was my parents and my teachers. Like I said, grade 6, I wrote a short story. Grade 9, I wrote a short story, sort of. And that's what got me thinking where I wanted to go in life. Now I'm a writer. It's the decisions you make when you're young, as you see, grade 6 to grade 9, where I ended up now, I'm 36 years old, and I'm still writing books. Now I think we should open up for questions. We got one other thing. Is there a mic being passed around? I did this course at the Justice Institute, and it was about working with substation youth. As I walked in, I was kind of late. Counselor looks at me. I'm like, oh, I'm ranch volleyball or whatever. I'm like a little bit late or whatever. He's like, you don't have to be an author ranch volleyball. You don't have to. He goes, oh, I don't think you have half the day. I think it's my day, right? Like, I want to do half the day of things to do. So he goes, okay, we're going to bring the gang section to the beginning and talk about that. I'm like, okay, to course. Anyhow, he's a counselor, and he works at youth. And this kid, he was working with this kid, and this kid would not speak. Speaking, he's court ordered, he has to go counseling, right? So the kid, hardcore, just sat there, crossed his arms, did his half an hour, they're like, yeah, okay, my probationary, what I have to do, and I'm here. So I guess this counselor, he saw I did a book signing in Jasper, Missouri, and he picked up a copy that day, and I remember, he goes, here, he goes the slides across the table or whatever. So the kid goes, read this. Do something, at least, here, he's going to talk to me. Pick up that next time. He goes, I see everywhere this kid is going. He goes, this kid, he goes, that was my life. He goes, a certain part of his life, he goes, that's my life. I see where he's going with it. He goes, this is what he needs to do, this is what he needs to do. And those kids that are taking that negative aspects out of that book, well, there's a lot of negatives to it. Think about, the most you could really learn is what jail is like, how to mix drugs, what the prices are. The prices fluctuate. Trust me, I call around to find out the prices just to make it as accurate as I possibly can at that time. How much drugs are for sale and stuff. But there's so many actual negative aspects of that lifestyle. There's nothing positive about it. Like I said, it's short lived. Smoke this month. Do you really want to be partying for 2 months of your life and then die? That makes no sense. Do you really want to be partying for maybe 6 months, a year, you're a top gangster? And then all of a sudden, you have to clean up your competition, you kill somebody. 2 deep shoots, 1 dead. Then you have to kill another one. Now if you get convicted of that, you get convicted of drug smoking, or anything, you're going to jail. And if you do the math on that, how much you could have been making legitimately compared to you sitting in jail, say you get a 10-year sentence. I'll say it's the first offense, you get a 5-year sentence. 5 years for $300,000 worth of marijuana, let's say, okay? We'll be on the light end here, or cocaine, whatever. Do the math. 5 years, you could have been making $60,000 a year, and you'd still not have a criminal record. You get to be with your loved ones. You're not being told when you can go to the washroom. You're not being told when you have to go to sleep. You're not being told when you have to go to your room. You're now a kid again. A little baby. It's like, go to your room. So that's what I have to say to them. Is do the math. And really look at, is it worth it? Nobody makes $1 million their first couple of years. No way. And a lot of times what guys do is let's set you up. You're getting set up. 99% of the guys are getting set up, either they get killed or they go to jail. And look at that in my book. Look at what Ruby does to his own friends. Another question? 19 years old, 17, when I started going to clubs. I used to go there to practice fighting. Like, I didn't drink. I'm like, oh, okay, what are you doing? I get a fight every time I'm there. This is what I used to do. This is the mentality I used to have. That gangster mentality outside this play does not need you. I know a lot of guys now. Some guys that were just, they were so close to that lifestyle, they never got into it, they were so close to it, they started, that mentality started rubbing off on them. You know what they do now in their 30s and 40s? When they have, people argue. The world is about debate and argument. I have an opinion, you have an opinion. You know what these guys do? Well, I'm right, bang. Next thing you know, this is in jail for assault. Losing friends. So, my influence, I think it was influence more than anything else that made me see what was going on. Otherwise, I see a lot of guys out there, they see, you know, your buddy getting shot, and they know it's somebody else. They know who it was, they know it was one of their friends. I saw that, and I thought, wow, like, my mom was a very, very hard-working mother, but she took out the time to spend with me. She saw the route I was going. The serious crime section came to my mother when I was 16 or 17 years old. After they found out who I was hanging out with, these are your old school gangsters. They said, your son is not going to live to see the age 24. My 24th birthday. I'm going to jump at the time that day. Anyway, when it's tired, but I was just like, I'm still alive. That's because I saw that there is absolutely no loyalty. 24 hours a day, somebody's trying to kill you, rip you off, and then you have the cops. They're trying to put you in jail, or you're trying to rat and informer. Was that a life I really wanted to get into? No. So the main thing there was, I realized there is absolutely no loyalty. You know, these talk guys all talk about, it's all about love and loyalty, love and respect. There is none of that. Okay, another one there? Toughest question ever. The best piece of advice I can give is, don't just run with life. Stop for a moment. I'm not saying strategize and plan your life out for 10, 15 years. Just stop and take a look at where you're headed. Just like in my writing, when I'm writing, like I said, I started off as a kid, and I see, do I take them down this way? I could have made him a legit kid. You know, he could have been an accountant or a lawyer. Would you guys have read that book? Probably not. So, stop and think where you're going and what you need to get there. You know, there's people talk about the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 20-year plan. Stop for a moment and just think, what would I like to do? Where do I want to go? I think the best piece of advice I can probably teach you guys is to just stop and think, use your conscience, and think, where am I headed? What can I do to get there? I think it was the question was, who helped me get out of that lifestyle? It was me. Like I said, I stopped, and I thought. I could have went either way. I could have went, yeah, in the lines of these guys, and I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to make some big cash. Well, then I would have been thinking, hindsight is 2020, because now I'm sitting in jail or unfortunately. I made the right decision. I'm standing in front of you. So, to me, that's the right decision I have found. And I get to send a positive message out there that I hope, I'm not sitting there saying, oh, everybody in this whole room is going to change. I talk about, if I can plant one seed for somebody, you may know somebody that's in a lifestyle or going that route. Stop them. Just like, hey, you know what? Don't just listen to me. Google is my friend. There's so many documentaries out there that you can look at that can help you understand what really happens in that lifestyle. Another one? Like I said, DAAKU took me, half of the book was 6 months, couple hours a day of training, and I started when I was really started when I was about 26 years old, so it took me about 4 years. But the second one took me a little less than a year to write. And if I spend more time, right, just like with anything, right, maybe spend more time, not enough, maybe a couple hours a week to devote to writing, and I only write whenever I